Alright, there we go. For some reason I always forget when I'm clicking this one thing, it mutes it. Anyway, how's it going, everybody? We're going to be working on a commission for Patreon. Lars, he just keeps asking for the Dragon Ball, so we're going to keep giving it to him. And he wants future Trunks. I was thinking of doing Super Saiyan, because, I mean, it's Dragon Ball, right? You gotta do Super Saiyan. But I thought it might be, I don't know, a little fun to do this version. With the sword and stuff, I might just actually cheese it a little bit, kind of like what the reference has here, which is just sort of sheathed behind him. Hey, Nimrod, how's it going? Alright, let's keep it going. Also, might be a little cool tonight. We're going to try to draw this. I made a post. When was it? Was it the weekend? Or last week or something? Let me just it was a... I'll just turn off the coloring, just so you guys can kind of see what... We're going to do the same thing without the color tonight. It should go pretty quick. Let me just put the inks up. As you can tell, and the reason why I wanted to show this is there's some new things kind of going on here. And I've been messing around with this stuff. So, the last little while I've been talking about sort of jumping back to how I used to draw with JESOP. And this style mirrors that, except with one addition, which is adding black and dark areas to it with a little bit of micron work for some hatch lines. Now, I'm a big Ryan Otley fan, and this mirrors some of what he's doing, but I've noticed a lot of comics nowadays are doing this sort of thing anyway. So it still blends in, it still fits, which is good, right? But if I turn off, let's see here, is it just these ones? Yeah, so you'll see the line art. This looks, I would argue, similar to how I normally draw anyway. But what we're going to be doing is adding a little bit of black to my work, right? It adds a lot, even though it adds some time. So there's like this back and forth of what do we do here to make things quick as well as look good, right? And all we're really doing, if I were to just grab, and these brushes, these are all, because people ask me this all the time, these are the same brushes that we use all the time. You guys get these on Patreon if you are interested. But it's the way that we're slapping down inks, right? Like you can kind of go thick to thin. And there, I would argue maybe like right here they look a little sloppy, right? But once we start adding a little bit of rendering to it, I really think it's fine. And it just, I don't know, it just moves things along. And again, it just gives us a little bit extra room for being able to show more, right? The whole plan here is to tell a story or get some interest, right? That's in there. So adding black helps a lot. The other thing that I didn't do with this one that we will do tonight that I was interested in trying with the skull or scroll thing, and this is a test in a lot of ways, was without adding a contour line. If you guys remember, we always like to add a contour line around everything. I didn't do that with this one. And what was interesting was I'm thinking I'm still going to keep that contour line in because it does add a lot that I like to make things clear for storytelling. But normally, if you're used to like how the process that I normally do this stuff, we'll do the contour line and then we'll start doing some line weights, right, from that contour line. And what I'm doing now is I'm doing the contour line first, and then adding like spot blacks. It's kind of like what you're seeing here, where there's like nothing here like this, right? And then we go, where do we want our shadows to be, right? And you can start, putting in all the shadows you want with whatever, nice big fat brush. And by doing this, what it's doing is it speeds things up a little bit, because what it lets us do is it lets us kind of get in here and figure out where all of our shading is first. Then we can go in and do all of our line weights over top of it. Because the problem is, or not a problem, but a situation that I would run into a lot with this is once we would just do our line weights, adding shadows over top makes it kind of look like, well, why do the line weights first? Because you might just have shadow cover it. And then it's like this weird back and forth. So anyway, 1 second, let me just let the cat in. We're going to get started here. Also, I've been trying to jump into doing some pencil work, and I'll show you guys that in a second. Okay. Let me go here. And the other thing too, that I was just kind of talking about with the penciling. Normally, I would just use like the Micron stuff, or maybe not Micron. Hey, Robin X, how's it going? Yeah, everything's good, man. Is like this sort of thing here, where we use like the big fat Sharpie marker and then break it down. But eventually, we get to something that looks kind of like this. The reason I've been breaking out the pencils, it's letting me just sort of change it up, you know, just change it up a little bit. Okay, so. And for those that do ask, these brushes I will be putting on Patreon soon. I'm just working on some kinks. Oh, and the last thing here is what I'll be doing is putting them on Patreon, as well as there's an ink wash brush. I got it from Dave Raposa over on Patreon actually. This thing I won't be putting on Patreon just because it's somebody else's brush, but it's real slick. He uses it for watercolor. But I've been able to get some pretty cool ink wash effect out of it. So hopefully we'll get that going too. Alright, let's do some drawing. Alright, so we're going to do a thumbnail first, right? We got to try to get something going. Let's move this here. Cool. Okay. And most of these are all just bus sketches too, right? So, sort in the back. I don't want to do this pose that I'm already drawing. But I always feel like I got to get these ones out of the system first, where it's just, you know, it's similar to the reference anyway. I think we could probably get a little more close up, maybe. It's kind of tough to do action poses where it's just the upper body. Maybe we can get him like reaching up to get the sword. We can do like some top down. One of the things that I've been trying to do to get like a little bit of range in these for people is like in this shot here, you do top down, you're gonna inevitably get like the whole body, right? But you can add some smoke or, you know, some background that can give us the energy we need too. Put like one of my classic poses where you get like the fist, kind of like he's making a fist pointing at you. Maybe we can combine them where that doesn't make much sense. I was gonna say where he was reaching up and trying to get the sword too. Push that back there, maybe something like that. Nam79, welcome. Hello, Master. Okay, we're flattery. Here we go. Good to see you drawing as well. I'd like to get back into the streaming too, guys. I apologize. Most of the stuff here, I'll show you guys what I've been up to real quickly. Still working on Galaxies in Peril. We're doing comic pages. I'll show you the 3 pages I wrapped up with inks on them. We will be doing the coloring and stuff, but most of the stuff I don't stream. I should probably just start streaming this. What I've been doing is after work, so Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays is the time that I get to draw for client stuff, right? And then I take Tuesdays and Thursdays off to just relax and not have to worry about doing all the work. So this is going a little slower, but what it's doing too is it's like I can only take on so much, and it's not really leaving me much time to do personal projects, which is fine. Where are we with these ones here? I'll show you these breakdowns. These are where we're going here, but sometimes at the end of the night I just like to put on some tunes, just get the work done, you know. And sometimes with the streams, well, it's not sometimes, it's happening right now. It's like I get distracted in a good way. Oh, that was the other thing too I forgot to mention too. So normally I would ink with just this flat line art layer, right? Like you see how that looks? It's nothing special. Just a flat line. I've just been trying to commit to just using these Micron brushes. They're very similar, except, like you do get some range with them, but they feel a little bit like a Micron. Like if I were to go quick. What I'm noticing, the main difference, why these don't feel like like an actual traditional tool, and I've been doing my best to sort of not worry about it, is it's the actual stylus. It doesn't feel, it's a little heavier than an actual Micron, and the tip isn't the same, so it doesn't give me the same feel, but it looks very similar. So it's trying to like just get like a healthy balance in there. Robert, next things good. Great. I actually just got in from shopping. Oh, right on, man. Well, thank you. Hopefully we'll actually get some actual proper art going soon. Dare of Death, welcome. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so let me let the cat out, and then we'll get back to drawing. Okay, what time is it here? So I try to get these going, wrap them up within an hour. Let's see what we can do. What haven't we done here? So we got some classic shots. You know what's funny? It's like this one right here that we started where I said I will not do, I got to get out of my system. I always end up looking at them and I'm like, it's probably the one to do. Because it's just like a traditional shot. You know, it looks very similar to the one on the right, but they do work so well. We got action. Maybe. We try to push some of this stuff here. If we had like a fist coming up here or something. Alright, I'm going to try rolling with this one. See what we get. Let's copy this guy. Pasty. We will transform it. Hey Troy, welcome in. It's good to see some familiar faces in here. This might actually work. Alright, drop the opacity. Ooh, that's a little much. Can't even see what I'm looking at. Alright, now we're going to start worrying about some tighter pencils here. Or actually, before we do that, maybe, yeah, I'm going to stick with this fat brush here just to get out some of these details first. Okay, so face is super important. A big fist up here. So I know Trunks isn't, he's not that buff. At least it doesn't start this buff. It's like everybody in Dragon Ball. They just get bigger and bigger. Let's get a nice twist in here. One of the cool things about Dragon Ball characters, right, is it's like superheroes. It's almost like you can get away with making them feel like they're not affected by gravity. They'll go here, and they are bust shots, so maybe we can like just put some BS energy kind of coming around. Who knows what he's doing? Might be able to figure it out as we draw. Have to make his head a little bigger. I like to draw characters with small heads, but maybe something like that. Let's see what happens if we make this fist a little bigger. Yeah, I think we'll stick with the small. Okay, let's see if we can clean up some of this stuff here. Let's go here. this Dragon Ball stuff, I've been doing super angular faces. You gotta give him the big old monkey ears. Big fat muscles, right? Gotta give him the big fat neck. Trying to figure out. It can get a little confusing sometimes with all the muscles falling into each other, right? If we can kind of bring this in here like that. Suck it in a bit for him. Alright, let me just try also putting in a quick idea of where his costume is going to be. So, go here. Boom, 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 dun, 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 dun. I always love this little buckle here. It reminds me of like a seatbelt buckle. There. I'm just going to insinuate that the sword is back there. We don't need to see it too much. I think too, sometimes like if you get like a crazy angle, like even this, just adds to the chaos of it. Like they're in a fight or something. Actually, you know what? I might maybe. I'm trying to think. Maybe what we can do instead is if we were to have maybe his hands open, you know, like this. This is like the Dragon Ball thing, right? And you put like an energy. It just makes it feel a little bit more Dragon Ball. Although I don't know if Trunks has just like a open energy ball. It might not matter. Let's just sketch it in. See how it feels. Because I do think this kind of thing, especially for Dragon Ball characters, just adds that sweet spot. Like sometimes it's just missing stuff, and it's that high energy. So what do we got here? So we got Pinky. Just don't want him to feel like he's holding it. Might be what it's kind of feeling like a little bit. Like I don't think I mind it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think this is better. Just a simple. We'll see as we go. We'll probably end up going, no, you know what? The other way was better. Okay, so we need a hairline. So he's going to come here. And then he's got like one of the most ridiculous haircuts, but very memorable. I also like when he's got really long, like the long version. I don't want to go too crazy with it. I don't want to style it up too much, but we're going to have fun doing that. And he's got the popped collar. And like the mini vest here. I think we just pop it up like way over here like that. Have to figure it out as we go. And then here we can give him the cuffs. Right. And again, I know he's wearing like a big shirt here, so you don't get to see too much, but the American comic book style, you can really, doesn't matter, you can make everybody ripped. Might be a shame that we don't get to see the, why can I remember that? I was just going to say Oscorp, which that's not, the Capsule Corp, that's what it is. We can't get that logo. Okay, I think this is good enough to go. Alright, so we'll go here, and we will lower it again. And now we should have enough to do some tight pencils. And you'll see what I mean by tight. They're still loose. Alright, we'll kind of hammer in a quick fist here. I'm drawing the wrong layer. I've been doing this lately. I'll draw this opacity layer. That's funny. Okay, go here. Merge it. F3. There we go. Yeah, maybe something like that. Just put like these little triangles in here for now. What I'm trying to do with this not new, but adding this sort of pencil stage in here is to not do what I'm just doing right there with these knuckles, where it's like you just slap in shapes, knowing that I'll figure it out later. It's sort of doing my best to just get some better lines in here so it's less guesswork when we get to the micron stage. I still like to keep a lot of that going, like the simple stuff, and figuring out things when we do the micron stuff, because there's a lot of unique things you can do when you get there. But at the same time, just trying to figure out how can we just get a little bit tighter so there's, I don't want to say less guesswork, because I know I'm saying the same thing over and over again here, just in a different way, but I can quickly look at it and go, okay, this is what I was meaning to do, and this is what we're going to need to do. The main reason is because, like, sometimes when you go a little bit looser, some of these things, it's like, okay, well, I got to figure it out later when I'm actually in there, in the shit, doing the artwork, right? And you can get some pretty interesting stuff doing that. But one of the things I've come to realize lately, too, is, like, most of the artwork I'm getting commissioned to do and stuff, like, it's very rare these days that I'm getting actual comic book pages, like people wanting me to do comic pages. So what I'm trying to do, and actually I showed you guys here with the scroll, I'm going to keep bringing this up, I think, is this coloring that I was trying out here is way back in the day when I was into Battle Chasers. There's a guy that always went around by the name of, was it Splat? No, it wasn't Splat. It was Liquid. And he did this really cool lasso and gradient or airbrush kind of look, and it was awesome. It was, to me, I'd never seen anything like it. You were just seeing really cool colors that were just popping that I didn't normally see anywhere. This has some extra BS put on there with some airbrushing and stuff that wasn't really in that. But I just wanted to see if I just spent a little bit of time, how long it would actually take me to color something a little bit different. And so what I'm getting at is more and more I'm noticing when people want me to do stuff for them, it's this kind of stuff. So I think I'm going to keep pushing that. I don't say it's because like more and more people are getting are asking me to do like covers and stuff like that, which is huge, because like covers are super important, right? And I think the way I was coloring before made a lot of sense in terms of like what's it called? Speed when I'm doing my own things, like an actual comic book, right? But if I'm just doing a pinup, we can get a little bit more fancy in there. And all this too is to say it's I'm not trying to. I know I've said a lot of times here that like time is important because I don't have a lot of it, which is true. But if I'm taking on less work, and this might sound greasy, I guess, but it pays more, and you kind of get more high profile things. Maybe, and when I say high profile, I'm not necessarily talking about like certain IPs and stuff, but some people have more money than other people, and they're asking or looking for talent to do work for them, like a cover or something like that, right? And might be the people that I might be able to start attracting a little bit more with just a little extra polish put into it, if that makes sense. So, we'll see how that goes. All right, this is sort of what I'm talking about. I want to make sure that some of the stuff. See, he's got like these high shoulder pads. I still want to keep that, but I also want to show his musculature underneath. And this is sort of what I'm saying, where it's like it feels a little bit more like an American style thing, where everybody's muscles are still showing through the fabric. We can just sort of, when we get into the inking, we can actually bang this up a little bit more. Nam saying liquid work was amazing. Hell yeah, man. I'm glad somebody else knows what I'm talking about in here. It's good. Okay, let's get this face over with. This is the trickiest one. Actually, let me open some of the other stuff I did for Lars. Just so I can make sure everything's sort of falling in line here. So we did a Beerus. I always say his name wrong. I hope that's right. A Goku, Master Roshi. He doesn't really count. I was doing a little bit of a different style with him. But here's Goku. I just want to kind of see the eyes. Just sort of like how I'm drawn with this. Beerus, I guess, doesn't really count. So something a little similar to this. Buckle in the nose there. And I think I'm going to make him yelling. Just to add a little bit more energy to it. I need to draw more people yelling. Because I always feel like when I do draw people yelling, it looks like they're smiling. You guys, anybody else have that problem in here? That's just an experience thing. I don't want to make them look too old here. Let's pull some of these back. It's like a inexperience is all it is. Like there's definitely things that maybe some of you guys know what the hell I'm talking about here, where it's like when you first started drawing something, it always looked like something else, but once you got towards finishing up the picture, or the image, it fixed itself. Like you're like, okay, so his face looks this way right now. It's weird looking, but once it's in context of everything else, then it was fine. Sure, I don't even know what the hell he's yelling at. Doesn't even matter, does it? Dragon Ball. Okay, so save that up there. Terry's saying my problem is that everyone looks too young or too old. Yeah, man. That that's a big problem too. All right, let's get these. These are like the iconic hairs here. And I'm just putting them in. Once we get to the micron, we'll be, these will change. I don't need to be perfect here. Again, it's just to keep this going into the next stage. And some of this stuff I want to keep. Like Trunks' hair. He does this thing where it goes here, and then his hairline is, we're gonna say the hairline goes here, but then you get all these other lines in here. Now they might not make a lot of sense in a traditional sense of like drawing, but if you're familiar with the character, I think it's one of those things where it'll make sense. All right, let me just zoom out a little bit here. I'm gonna turn off all this crap. Oops. This crap. Oh man, I've got so much going on here. Let's grab all this together. Just turn that off. Because what's happening is I'm losing where his hair is, or what it's doing. There's so many things going on. So we maybe put like a little bit of a wave to it. We just kind of got like a buzz cut, right? Or not a, what the hell would you call it? Like a bowl cut? And then it goes into a buzz cut. Oops, let me rotate. Get a big old ear in here too. Just a little bit of buzz cut that we can't see. So what I'll have to do is I'll just sort of like break this up a little bit. I think I might just end up using that one function that we do all the time to make the line art. It'll probably look pretty good there. Save that up. Donnie, welcome. The Art of Read, welcome, welcome. Is it? Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing, right? When you're chasing Toriyama's stuff, like you got to set your bar pretty low. Okay, let's keep her going. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Let's get in some clothes for this guy. All right, so I'm gonna get the collar first because the collar does cut some stuff off. Maybe it'll overlap the shoulder like that. Then we can have it kind of come down over here. Go down like that. Get the pocket. There's no zip or anything on here. Okay. All right. Now all this is black down here, right? But we get to do some of my favorite stuff, which is just ridiculous, weird. Looks like I don't know what I'm drawing, or that I know how to draw anatomy. Just basically bulbous anatomy. Bulbous, bulbous, bulbous. Get as many lines in there as you can get. Just make it stupid looking. We'll go here, because I know this is mostly going to be X'd out. But we can chisel out some anatomy back here, right? Turn that off. Like, it won't be totally black. I think it'd be probably make more sense to have just some cuts in here, just to show that it's, there is something here. And then we'll get that belt in here, something like that. And then we're going to just BS the background, right? We still have to put the sword in somewhere. But let's get the other arm in there. We'll just do like a Bruce Timm kind of style back here, just to get some of that energy, since it's way off in the background. And we can bring his hand down here. That. We're getting dangerously close to the edge of the page there, right? So I don't want to get too close up there. Actually, how much room do we got? We do have room down there. So let's stop being silly. Let's bring that down a bit. Cool. All right, just so that we can kind of get some more finger action going. That. Get those knuckles. Cool. All right. So we're going to go in red here, and we're going to have to figure out this sword. So I know I already drew it, but I'm going to turn it all off. We're going to redraw it again. Okay, so let's get some perspective going. Might be a little big. Go this way. That. Sure. I'm just radiating confidence right now. All right, we'll go here, and then I think it's just more like a round kind of shape. It's actually really important to nail the sword, right? Like that's what I might do just to cheese it a little bit more too. Is like we'll maybe put some speed lines on it to get rid of the detail. Okay, and then what did I have for the idea for the background? Nothing. Great. I'm setting this up to fail, guys. Okay, well, if that's the case, maybe what's the energy we want to kind of go? Let's get a big ass brush. We're doing speed lines up the yin yang, I'm assuming, right? What's he doing, like an uppercut or something? Maybe just get like some. Okay, that's one version. Not really a fan of that, to be honest. Could just do what I was kind of thinking, where you just like start getting some energy. Like a mix between white lines and dark lines, and then some speed lines in there. Maybe some Kirby dots. I don't know. Maybe something like that. I don't know. What do you think? Because we definitely have to have something going on down here, right? Like he's going so fast. Maybe that's the thing. I think we're getting there. Get some speed lines, kind of, like just motion. So much motion, it doesn't make sense. Okay, I think we're good. Nimrod, I can't wait to move your missing. It's all good, buddy. You've given more than enough. I appreciate it. All right, Nam. That's enough of the master talk. But thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's start finalizing some of this up here. So, all right. Let's go lines. Because, again, I'm going to show you guys. I know I already said this, but you never know who's new in here and who doesn't know what in the heck I'm talking about. So the process I generally work in, let's just open up. What would have been, I guess this Goku one would have been a little bit more appropriate. It's similar to what we're going to be doing, but a little different. So this is the breakdowns we normally would have done. So this stage right here, the tight line art, this is just a normal thing, and then we're going to toss some inks over top. This stage here, pretty similar to what we'll be doing. It's this one here. The reason I'm trying the micron is I feel like I get a little bit more, feels a little bit more artsy, I suppose, and it does help this stage. At least I'm finding. And it might just be that I've done this so much that I'm just looking for something new. It could very well just be that. So go here, grab that, go down to our Micron brush. Where's it? Micron 3. I just want to make sure, because sometimes the lines can get a little small. Micron 5 might be alright. Let me just check our normal line art brush, just to compare them. I wonder if maybe 5 is where I should be working. Sorry, 1 second, guys. See what we're kind of doing here. No, we're good. Okay. Let's rock and roll. Yes. Let's get the hard thing done first, right? So I don't want to add too many scrunchy lines. But you can never have too many, you know? If I like that nose, I gotta be honest with you. 1 second. The cat coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. Okay. I'm gonna just back up on those eyes. We'll decide the light source later. I think I'm gonna adjust this nose. Not really feeling it. Maybe. Oops. See, like I say, like sometimes this stuff can look a little out of whack until it's all put together. We'll see. The faces are always the things that are like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, how does it look? And you need it in context. You need it with everything. All right, so let's move away then. Let's go do something else. So what are you guys all working on? I know, sorry, a lot of you guys are already having a conversation about it. It's probably rude of me, but I'm trying not to check out the chat too much. Pedro, welcome, man. How's the 21 UX holding up? It's holding up great. I went up in my attic maybe like a month ago. How long ago has it been now? Month, maybe a month and a half. We were putting some stuff up there, some baby stuff, and I saw the my old Cintiq, my what was it, 12WX? Yeah, that one. I took it down. I'm like, oh man, I wanna use that again. Just try it out. I don't know why I always break that thing out every now and then. But I didn't plug it in this time because I remembered I was doing coloring stuff, and the colors on that small thing, not very good. And on the 21 UX that I'm using now, the colors aren't amazing. I know it's still, I don't even think it's HD. It's whatever the other ones are. So it's doing what it can, but it's not the best colors. One of the reasons why I have the second monitor that I can always like not only just look to see how the artwork is doing, but when you're doing color, you can have like a much better monitor to have a better representation of how the color's going, right? But yeah, if there was one reason I'd love to upgrade, it would be to get an HD, like a widescreen thing. I think that'd be nice to draw on. Pardon for all the sniffles, guys. And as well, the color, 100%. I think anything that would just up the color quality would be great, but it's not mandatory. It's on the wish list, right? There's so many other things that we could be doing. Nimrod, Jonathan, if I was to get an 11 by 17 picture as a commission, I'd get a propaganda poster of M. Bison standing, clinching, him looking proud, but also. Oh, sorry, I kind of losing me at the end there, buddy. But hey, anything with Street Fighter, I'm down. Masters a He-Man commission? Hell yeah. Giving a Huion a shot. I'll say I have a review, an older one for the Huion GT220. And I'm not saying this to sway your decision at all. One caveat before saying, like, I liked it, but I didn't. There were things I didn't like about it, but that's because I've been fortunate enough to be able to use a Cintiq, so I know what I'm able to get. And the Huion wasn't that. It had nothing to do with drawing quality or anything. I think if you draw on a certain device for long enough, you'll get used to it. There's people that are just like destroying work right now with iPad Pros. They're just knocking it out. I've been trying, and I just can't do it. It just doesn't feel comfortable to me. Not like it does on a Cintiq. But I'm able to do some like rough work and stuff on there, right? So if you've never used a Cintiq and this is your first like drawing tablet, I think you'll love it. And the monitor too, like the GT220 that I had, like it was a beautiful monitor, man. Like that was great color. But I gave it to my niece since I wasn't using it, and she's a great artist in her own right, and I thought maybe she could use it. Instead of me just using it as a really nice looking monitor. Why not share the digital drawing experience with somebody else, right? But what Huion model are you looking at grabbing? A Canvas 22 Plus? I've never actually heard of that. I'm sure like they come up with so many awesome products that I haven't caught up. I haven't even caught up with Cintiqs and Wacom, man, to be honest. to be fair, I mean, and I hope this doesn't, well, not that it offends people. I'm not really caring if I offend somebody, but I'm just like, there's nothing offensive. What I'm about to say is like, I come from, internet just starting, art community kind of stuff, and any forum you went to, and people started talking about digital art, all you heard all the time, was Cintiq, Cintiq, Cintiq. That's what the professionals use. So I'm very jaded in my decisions. I mean, it's different now. Like I don't think it's definitely not true anymore. But I was definitely pursuing that because that's all I heard was Cintiq. So once I started going drawing digital, like full time, I used to use an Intuos, which is just like a drawing tablet, and that's from the DC Comics guide, right? That Freddie talks about. I was drawing that, and I was struggling to get pissed off all the time because I don't know how he draws on that thing. I can't do it. It just feels so cumbersome to me, right? But people use it and they kill it. They do awesome stuff. But in the back of my head, all that stuff that I had heard growing up, or reading, I should say, growing up, was like, I can't draw better because it's not on a Cintiq. It's not on a Cintiq. That save your money, get that thing. That's what's going to take you to the next level. you know, it's like that, and it's not a, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way or anything, but it's, I think it can be it's a negative, but it can be a little bit amateurish too, of thinking it's the tool that you need, right? But in saying that too, I know what it's like to see another artist and go like, "Oh, what pen are they using? I gotta try that pen. It might feel right, you know." So I get it. I understand it, and I would argue too. Like that's even what I'm saying, right? It's like for me, I'm used to this Cintiq. Now that I've gotten it, I'm like, I don't want to go away. I like it. I try other things. I'm like, I can't draw like this. I can't do it on that. It's got to be an age thing, man. I'm starting to get like those people that would always complain about digital art. Drawing on a screen doesn't feel like drawing on paper. It's crap. It's not true. You just got to draw more and more on it. You know what I mean? Skull Diamond, welcome. I love your Kirby isms. Some of that, Joe Matt. Thanks, man. I wonder, do you guys think I still have Kirby isms with like this stuff that I'm drawing right now? I don't know if this feels more like Kirby, or if I've kind of fallen back a little bit more into like Ryan Otley and Capcom again. So we'll see where this takes me. At least that's what I'm trying to think of when I'm drawing this stuff. Great now, welcome, brother. You reviewed it. What'd you think of it? Yeah, man, link away. Always. Yeah, you guys can link and share whatever you guys want. Absolutely. Nam, I didn't know what a Cintiq was until I found your channel. Oh, that's great. I'm sorry if that's messed you up. Man, I gotta be fighting something here. I'm stalling too, by the way, because we've got Trunks' hair to do. Nams, I was blown away. Blown away? Blown away? Blown did it away? What's why we're saying that? Blown, right? I was blown away and immediately bought a Cintiq 13 HD, but it was hard to learn to draw on one. I almost gave up. How's it going now? I will say with the smaller devices, I found like I got used to. I couldn't afford a big Cintiq, so I saved up and I saw the small 12WX, and I was like, I think it was around $1,000, maybe 1,200. I'm like, that's so expensive. And then I saved up a little bit, but I ended up buying it prematurely because once you get close, right, bad habits can kick in. So I got it, I plugged it in, and immediately it felt. Let me just blow my nose here. I'll continue the story. Okay, my son, he's like 1.5 now, and he has this comforting thing now. Or he's always had it, but when he starts getting tired or whatever, he puts his fingers in his hands in your mouth. It's really weird. I love it. He's my kid. I love it. I don't know what it is about it. Sometimes it's annoying, but I feel like I'm getting more and more sick just from this guy's hands. Yeah, when I started drawing on the small Cintiq there, it was like it was a big I want to say a big learning curve or anything like that. It was just that it was you're drawing at such a small thing, right? I would argue one of the beautiful things about it though is that you're able to zoom in, but that became a problem quickly because what I was doing is I was zooming in all the time, and nothing good came of that. I would argue, just a little pro tip for you guys, you can go into, let me see if I can pull it up. Does this show up on your guys'? I moved my screen down, so you guys might not be able to see some things. Hopefully you can see this. Is it preferences? Let me check. Okay, you guys should be able to see that. Where are you? Right here. So I accidentally hit the reset, so it's not there, but right here, canvas under preferences, you can, these are your zoom levels. You can delete all these and set them in. So like 3200, you should never need to zoom in that high. What I would argue is maybe get like an actual piece of paper that you're used to drawing on, even if it's an 11 by 17 board. And I don't care if you're drawing on a small iPad Pro or if you're drawing on even a Cintiq 12WX. I did this with that too. Is put the artboard on there, get like a corner or something so you can get the dimensions, and just zoom into like what a piece of paper is, and then maybe just a little bit more, as if you're like getting real close to your face of that paper. I think it just trains you to get comfortable with like the way your lines will look. Here's an example. Look at this hair. If I zoomed in to like this, I could probably get some real straight lines, but look how disgusting. Like, this is wobble fest. Nice shaky hand, you know what I mean? But the reason why it doesn't matter is because we're looking at the image like this. And it's one piece of all of the image, right? And that's the thing. That's all that matters, just that little piece, not all of it. So if you do that, if you start practicing that habit now, I promise you, you'll stop. It'll solve all of your zooming problems. And I think a lot of people get better results with their digital work doing that. Because I know, and I'm this way too, to a degree, of just being a perfectionist when it comes to art. Like, I can't count the amount of times I've seen people, and this is just my opinion on it. I think there's people that that definitely would argue, going like, well, if I did zoom in and my lines got cleaner, my art would look better. But I've seen a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of fellow artists and stuff, digital artists, that they'll do this, and you guys could be this person too. I'm not gonna hold it against you. Trying to get that perfect curve. It's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's just not worth it. There's so much moving in an image. There's so much going on that I would argue just get the drawing done. Unless you really enjoy doing the undo stuff. But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. The zooming is, once I figured that out, and I just sort of got disciplined with it, going like, that's the one thing. When you put that in that setting in the preferences, it prevents you from trying to go back into a bad habit of like zooming in, right? Like, it's one thing to just try not to do it, but if you physically can't do it in the software, like, you just can't do it, you won't do it. You'll actually start treating it a little bit more like paper. You'll actually zoom in with your face on the canvas. And then maybe that's what you start finding out over here, right? Like, especially in Clip Studio, stabilization, you might like crank that up. I don't have any on, but it would make my lines straighter, and maybe that's the difference there for you. I feel like I went off on a massive tangent there. I miss streaming with you guys, man. I just talk about all kinds of stuff that you guys don't even ask. That's not even relevant. Nimrod saying he owns a 22 HD Cintiq and a 13. Yeah, no, yeah, you are. Oh, come on, you are a total gearhead and you're shit at art. That's not true. Manga fusion, good. Okay, that's what I like. I like to hear that. Sounds like you're buying a whole bunch of things because of me, and that's probably a bad thing. Unless it's helping you. I mean, if it's helping you, then I'm glad to help. Trying to leave a little bit of this open here, like in this spot. I don't want to add too many straight lines, because I think what'll happen is Trunks will start feeling like actual paper head or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just worried about it. Looking at the time and I'm like, okay. So I know I've said this a few times, but I keep talking about with time. Time shouldn't matter when you're drawing, unless you're on like a crazy deadline, right? I think you guys can hopefully agree with that. And I'm only saying this again because I keep saying time, time, time. But so these Patreon commissions here, they're $10, and I want to make sure that like I'm still able to hammer them out on time, and that I'm not taking like a week or a full night to do them. And that's not in any way to like try to scam people or give people less art. If that makes sense. I'm trying to. I've tried to do this before. Like I have this little paper that I have written down in Evernote, where it's like, well, how much is a commission? How much is a cover? How much if somebody was asked me to do anything, right? Like to have a rate that I can give people. And what I'm trying to do is honor that in terms of like, okay, so people on Patreon, as awesome as they are, and thank you for anybody that's being awesome enough or is able to help. They're like I consider them the diehard fans, not the people that hang out with me or say nice things aren't, but these are people that are currently able to. And again, if you can't, this isn't like a my hat out kind of thing, like please help me kind of thing. It's not that. It's just when people, and I hope some of you guys will experience this at one point in your life, right? Is when people throw money at you for your art, it's a wonderful feeling. So I don't say this with like like I don't take this lightly. I'm just trying to say that people wanting me to draw them a commission is awesome. But the thing I always have to remember is like the business part, right? Like the livelihood part, and this is the part that I struggle with because I don't like mixing business with art with my stuff because I'm very shy about that kind of stuff, and I shouldn't be. Nobody should be, but I am, and I want to give people like really awesome stuff. But I try my best to go like, okay, this, especially for these things, because it's $10. Am I worth like what does my art look like at $10 an hour? Really, what it comes down to, right? So that's what I always try to do, and I mean I usually don't. Like I can already tell, like streaming doesn't count because it's as long as we're going right now. But it's like, you know, it's always in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, well, what's the time right now? And like, oh God, we're already over. Anyway, Mr. Lockwood, welcome. I know, right? It's the Canadian in me. It's coming out. It's coming out strong. All right. Let's see here. We still got to do the sword, and then I think we're the sword and the belt, and then we can finally get to inking and start wrapping this up. All right, we'll just insinuate pants. Maybe he doesn't have them on. You know, maybe Trunks is in his trunks. Okay, let's turn this hair off here so he's not carrot top. Let me just see. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. It's all right. Can't win them all. All right, let's get the sword in there. Also, I've been using, and it doesn't really matter right now because it's so small of an area. That clanking sound you actually hear it now is a real ruler. Can you believe it? I've been using a real ruler now. I can't even say it. Real ruler. Been using a real ruler with my digital stuff lately for things like this, like straight lines. So instead of holding shift or getting anything like that, you can get a little bit of imperfection in there, and I'm all about that. Get a little imperfection, and it just changes up the flow, I feel, when I'm drawing. Makes it feel a little bit less digital, I guess, too. What the hell am I drawing over here? What's going on? Let's bring this a little bit wider. That's what we want. There we go. Something like that. I'm just going to add a little stack. Maybe put a little texture here. Think of what I forgot to add. I'm just looking at this with that sword that we drew. His little like buckle or whatever the hell for the sword to stay on his body. All right, so we're gonna go here. We'll go here. We're gonna get a little something going on over there. Oops. And let's get I keep calling it a buckle. I don't even know what the hell this is. It looks like a buckle. That's why I keep calling it that. So I guess it's going to connect down here somewhere. So we're going to bring it this way. And we'll come up here. Sure. I'll go here. I'm making a whole bunch of tangents here. I can see them. We'll fix it in inking. We'll fix it in post. Right, we'll do this so we can maybe draw it up like that. So it looks like it goes in. Give it a little dimension. Little dimension. There we go. 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 Okay, cool. Let's turn everything off. See what we're looking at. Yeah. I'm gonna merge all this together. So we got our line art. Let's clean that one spot up because it's pissing me off. There we go. Like I said, we do need to put a background in there. Not gonna worry about it just yet because we're gonna get to the inking and we'll do all that jazzy stuff then. Okay. So I'm going to duplicate the lines there. We're gonna call it inks. Merge everything. Kaboom. Get rid of the white. Make a new layer. Okay. And now we're going to do this big, fat, nasty inking. It's going to be great. Alright. So, the tricky part here is where are we spotting our blacks? Hey, Jojo. Let's see here. I'm just going to fix that too. If I were to fill this all black, what does this look like? Not his jacket. Feels like Trunks, right? Black. Let's do it. Let's keep it. Figure it out. Alright, so a big area I can see, right? We're just spotting blacks right now. Is, again, a lot of like, in the reference here, it's cell shaded, so you don't really get to see it. But I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. I'm getting rid of Trunks here. He's taking up my screen real estate. Let's get a nice full screen here. Maybe we'll make the brush a little bit bigger. So what I'm trying to do too is this is mirroring like using an actual brush, like a brush pen or something like that, so that I can translate this into traditional work. I'm trying to get a little bit more comfortable with the. So normally like this brush, it gets real thick, right? And the thin is there, but it takes some effort, and I'm trying to condition my hand to be better at pressure. If that makes sense. Alright, so I guess we just do, I think we're just going to light it from the top here. No need to get too silly. Get those big chunky shadow shapes in there. Get on the bicep. And I know this looks, to me it's a little weird just because there's it's like I'm inking the bottom of his jacket, kind of like it's muscles. But I just like that. I know it's not how it would really look, but that's okay. We get some folds in here a little bit. See how this looks. little texture down here. What was really weird was when I started adding this back into what I was drawing, like this way of inking, spotting blacks, was it's like, man, but look at all this down here. Like, it's just blobs. Having to go back in to fix it, it's different. Get used to it, right? You figure it out. Again, it's just like the face, like I was saying. I know I'm going to go back in there and adjust things, but it's sort of like just giving it the time to marinate, I guess. You know, like once you start drawing everything else, things start not looking as bad. So, like, maybe I didn't like that nose when we were drawing it, right? Now that I've had some time, I don't mind it. Clean up these eyes a little bit. I want to go easy here. I don't want to put too much. Maybe we drop a black here on the side of his nose. Maybe. I don't know. Let's figure out the black areas of his mouth. His mouth. So I think where I may have been going a little awry before when I was adding a lot of shadow work, like when I started changing my style up. If you guys remember, those of you that have been with me since, I don't know, since my very early videos, I used to do a lot of heavy black, add a lot of heavy black to my work. And I think what was one of the problems with it was I would do my line weights first and then add shadow, and there's no problem with that. I think one of the issues I was running into was it just made everything a little thicker because there's so much line weight everywhere. There's no room for things to open up a little bit. Oops. Alright, we'll come back to the face here in a second. I've been a little weary of adding cast shadows too back into my stuff. It's because it adds drama, which is great, but once you start adding cast shadows, it's kind of like you got to do it everywhere. It's weird, man. It's like picking and choosing what kind of appropriate art techniques I want to use. Right? Like, if I'm going to go ahead and do what I'm doing right now, adding shadows and black, it's kind of like, well, there's some rules that generally go with those things, and to not do them, maybe things stand out a little bit more than they normally would in a negative way, you know? Are we going to add any on his hands here? Maybe just in here. The creases of the skin a little bit. I think we're getting close to being done with the spotting of the blacks. Might Might want to add some to the hair, I think. Oops. We should put some metal here. A little metal. Alright, so I know his purple hair doesn't really, like, if you start putting shadow in here, right? Like, I feel like if we don't do anything, maybe it's just line weights in there. I'm just going to try line weights, see how it looks, and hope for the best. Okay, so that's done. Now the next step here is we're just going to go down to a smaller inking brush, and we're just going to kind of combine this together. Really clean up some of this stuff. But some of these things need a contour layer around them. Alright, like, get in there. And again, I'm trying to keep the speed up, but add a little bit. And it's weird. It's like I think the more time you spend with stuff, right, the quicker you'll get with it. So instead of going back into how I used to do some stuff with like this heavy blacks and adding shadow work, it's just go back into it slow and see, and kind of keep an eye on it, monitor it, you know. See if it's taking too long, if it's adding the right amount of speed. If it's adding the right amount of speed, then we're in luck. Okay. We're just worrying about getting some of the shapes that are, you know, in front of other shapes. Probably should have a contour line, or line weights, I should say, on them. Just helps I call it deflattening. Alright, let's try to figure out this hair. Just trying to pick out some lines here that'll make these feel like they're kind of reclining in space. Something like that, maybe. Get a couple of these to overlap. Okay. One other thing before we're basically getting at the end point here. Yeah, it's good. Is just doing like this super simple rendering. Not on all this stuff. Alright, but just on some of these things, just to make them feel a little textured. The last step here is we just go back to that micron that we started everything with. Oh, the family's good, man. Thanks for asking. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm just sort of... Actually, let's try our thicker micron. Just trying to add a little bit more dimension to some of this stuff here. I have to be careful with some of this because it's like I could get lost and just like trying to add like all these lines everywhere. The more lines we add, the flatter it can get. Cool. Okay. And then we got to add some sort of background thing. I think what I'll do for the background here is I'm going to use my dry brush. Is that up here? Just follow that as a guide. We're still doing the same thing here. I'm going to get a thinner brush after this and just sort of get some thinner lines in here. Yeah, I'll be finishing up soon. Once this background's done, I'm just taking a gray or an ink wash to it. That's just basically adding shadows, like super simple shadows. I don't go in there and add like high polished shadows or anything. It just adds like a little extra to it, you know. I find when you just do black and white work, there's nothing wrong with it, but you can add just a little bit of that ink wash to it, or even just one pass of shadow. It helps a lot. One sec, let me let the cat back out. bit. Just makes this part, to me anyway, feel a little bit more like it was actually done with a traditional brush. And you go back over just in some of these spots to thin out the chunkiness. Cool. Okay, let's turn off the busy background. There's a lot going on, eh? If we lower the opacity, yeah, I think we just go all in here with this. What do we do? Okay, we have to add this here to sort of fade in his body. Make it a little bigger. Yeah, thanks, man. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Alright, just to make it look maybe a little better here. Go back up here. I'm going to go back over in white. Like what I'm trying to do is just make it so busy that it, it's Dragon Ball. It's like a blur of things that are happening, right? Let's try this. I saw this. How does that look? What does this look like? Maybe we can throw a little bit of that in there. Let's throw a little bit of that in there. Oh, dusty dust. Make a new layer. We're gonna go over in white too. Maybe. Texture the hell out of this thing a little bit. It's kind of cool. Alright, so I'm going to take that. We're going to duplicate everything. And we're going to group it all together. And get rid of the white. And we're going to wrap this up with a very quick ink wash. Let me save it. So I'm going to go over here. I don't know if you guys can see this over here. I think everything's covered. But we got our Copic markers here, our neutral grays, and we're going to grab our ink wash brush. I made just a very slight adjustment to it, but it's really, if you guys go on Patreon and follow Dave Raposa, he uses a lot of this ink wash, or I think he calls it I think it's just a watercolor brush for him, but I just like the way it looks. We're going to do just a very simple ink wash here, just for some shadows. I just use one or two tones and that's it. Yeah, I hope Lars gets this and he likes it. It's always a bum out. I've only had it happen once, and it was my fault. Um, where somebody has said that it wasn't what they were expecting, in a bad way. And that's like, you never want that. Mecha Art, would you play the Japanese Trunks theme from the Dragon Ball? Oh, on Facebook here, I can't play anything, man. Or not Facebook. What the hell am I talking about? YouTube. It's everything gets copywritten and then just comes down. I don't make any money on YouTube, so it doesn't really matter. The only reason I don't uh, play songs, like there's a couple streams that I have where it's just the audio stuff, but the reason I don't do it is there's actual countries and places that get blocked because there's a song playing or something, and I don't want that. I don't want people not to be able to watch stuff because I'm playing a song. You know what I mean? It sucks, but Raphael, welcome, brother. Welcome. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I tried out your brushes too. None of them stuck, but that's not a shot at how like that they're not good or anything like that. I just couldn't get them to look as beautiful as yours. I can't become you. I can't do it. I don't have the talent. But I hope you're well, my man. This stream is even cooler. Play Ain't no problem, man. Trust me. I wish I could play some music. Definitely makes it less dry. It's one of the reasons why we tried Twitch for a little bit too, right? It was like Twitch lets you do some stuff. I don't know how Twitch is allowed to play music and you can't on YouTube. I don't understand that. But I haven't looked too much into it. But yeah, we messed around a little bit on Twitch, but inevitably just stuck back to YouTube because there's my audience is here. This is where I've built my audience, and trying to rebuild somewhere else, even though it might be better for certain things, For like this, as a great example, being able to play some music. Do we do the shine in the hair? No, let's roll this back a bit. I'm getting a little too trying to be careful with this wash stuff. Just nice and simple, nothing. Twitch isn't really allowed to stream music either. Oh, okay, they just do or what? Like, I don't understand how they do it. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Raphael. You're always boosting me up, man. Believe it or not, I actually got back into drawing. Or sorry, I got back into drawing back in 2001 in high school due to seeing someone drawing rabbits. Oh, really? Wow. Okay, that probably was pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I should just like. Do you guys know? I'll leave it up to you guys. You guys are the smart ones here. Do you guys know if there's like music that you can play from that like YouTube lets you play while streaming, like while live streaming? I know I can download a bunch of their music. I've done that a couple times for like videos that I've posted after the fact, but nothing while I've been live. Because trust me, like I watch other videos or other streamers too, and they're just artists, right? And it can get dry. Unless you've got like people on your show that are talking with you, it can get dry. Like you're watching me draw. That's pretty boring. Yeah, thanks, man. This is it's a watercolor brush that I nabbed from Dave Raposa. I follow him on Patreon, and he offers this brush for free. He paints with it like to do actual watercolor, but there was something he was doing, and I can't remember what it was. And when I looked at it, I was like, hey, wait. And I don't have a lot of experience with it yet, so that's why I'm kind of one of the benefits of Patreon commissions is I can kind of use tools to help future workflows and stuff like that. But one of the things he was doing, it looked like an actual ink wash. And when I do traditional commissions, I learned it from Freddie Williams. Pretty much everything I do is lifted from him. When he went to commissions, he was talking about this thing that he was doing, and I have the tools and I do them too. It's like this watercolor pencil, where you almost shade in with a pencil, and then you just use like a watercolor brush, and you blend all that pencil together, and it's like a very quick and dirty ink wash solution, without actually bringing like jars of ink wash to a convention. I don't even think he uses it anymore. Like a lot of his Ninja Turtle stuff and all the things he was working on, he's been from what I know, and I don't know enough to like say this is for fact. It's just stuff I've seen. Everything is like proper ink washes now with like a well and watered down ink to get different tones. But regardless, this reminds me, and it feels in a way similar. It is digital, so you kind of have to. You're not going to get the same. You can get close, but I haven't been able to get the same. This is the best brush that I've messed around with. That's given me the kind of results that look a little like that right there, where you can kind of draw, and it bleeds, and every time you draw over it, it's like it's adding more. So you kind of have to treat it like it's a actual watercolor brush. Boom, 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 boom. We gotta hurry this up. Hey, we're taking forever with this one. Maybe you can put all this in the shadow. Take a look. We'll see how it looks. I don't know if the texture of this brush is showing up. I'll zoom in a second so you guys can see it. But it's gnarly, man. But even the way I have to color with it, like I have to all in a single stroke. Alright, so let's zoom in, I'll show you. See all this stuff? Like all that, look, this is cool. So this is all it is, it's nothing fancy, but the harder I press, you kinda get a little bit in there, and then it kind of blurs and smudges a little bit too, which is pretty sweet. Okay, and then the last thing we'll do is make a new layer. We're just gonna go a little darker in some spots, nothing crazy. This is just to help push things just a little bit more, and then I can wrap this up. I'm too zoomed in here. Like his hand here, we should probably push this a little bit. I want to use this more to get a little bit better with it. Because I see stuff here that I really like, and then I see stuff that I'm like, all right, this guy's still learning. Get some here to push that arm back there. Maybe we'll push a little bit here just to make the head pop forward a little bit. I'm going to be going to bed after our stream here, so for those that are interested, I'll be posting this on social tomorrow morning. I think we're good. I think, have you tried Rebel 3? It's a watercolor stuff. I have not. I've never even heard of it. But I will check it out. Thank you. So here's that paper texture that I always put on everything, but I feel like lately when I put it on this, it changes it, but I don't know if I think I kind of like it like just the way it originally looks. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. We're spending too much time. So, hindsight, I guess maybe one of the things is trying to get more that contour layer. So like I'm trying to spot the blacks like I'm saying, but when I zoom out here, right, like this gets pretty hard to see if I'm just being objective about it, right? Whereas when we were doing Goku here, see where there's much more bold inking, and if you're zoomed out you still can't really see too much. And I think maybe this just might be a thing of color, right? Like once color's on there, it fixes all the problems that your art's going to have, right? The scroll that we did, same thing. The line art it's very similar, and then the inks, maybe the inks were just a little bit more tame, but you see like I don't have any contour layers around there too. And granted, there's not as much busyness going on as there is in this one. This one, I feel like I'm putting a little bit more, what's it called? Anime, manga influences in there. Or with this guy, once we put in the shadows, they were just simple shadows, right? Like if I turn this off here. Oops. So, like, let me turn off the highlights too. Forget the highlights. Some of the highlights, I guess some of them are, okay, there we go, right? Like this would have been our traditional way of drawing, and then this would have been the shadow. This would be normally how I draw. But even with this one, we added just a little bit of gradient. And then I even put an extra pass of shadow just to separate things, right? So I think when we're getting into this realm, the style kind of comes together. So I'm wondering if this were colored, if this would look a lot better. I might be just call it what it is. But anyway, that's something to reflect on at another time. Let's go up here, grab this. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. 1980s Thundercats? I have not. I'd be a big fan to try to draw them, though. That's for sure. All right, let's put our signature right in the front here so we can be totally obnoxious. Boom. There we go. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And like I said, if you guys are following me on, there's tons of links everywhere. If you guys are still trying to find me at this point, just take a look at the description box below. There should be a crap load of links. If not, there's links on the screen you can see. So you can follow me on Facebook or Twitter, Arpejar, Instagram, Scribbles with Jonathan, Patreon, if you guys feel so inclined. I should talk a little bit more about that. I know I do bring it up, but I try to post multiple times in the month, showing you stuff like this. I mean, a lot of these videos too, it is the process, but some people they just like to see. Here, I'll show you here. What's one we did? Actually, I did this one recently. I think you guys check it out, like the Black Panther that we drew, right? So some people like to just see it this way too, because they like to copy it or draw in this sort of style, right? So you just do the roughs, this kind of breakdown. But I post stuff like this, hopefully multiple times a month. And then there's the commissions that we're doing, like this one, these ones that were all in here, yada yada yada. And then there's also the PSD and the Clip Studio Paint downloads of files too. So if you guys want any of these things that I'm working on, a lot of times I just post these up there too, so you guys can be interested. If you're interested, you guys can always check that out too. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching the recorded version, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And like usual, you guys keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.